with all the things that this character is going to do in the game, with fighting and shooting and flying ships, sitting. I originally had spines coming off the hips, which looked really cool and gave a nice balance, but Chris felt that he would be hurting himself constantly, so off they came. And then, so we do some walking tests and some animation movement. Very quickly, I'll rig that up myself before it goes to our animation department. So there won't be a lot of back and forth to make sure everything is working properly and it looks anatomically feasible. And as that's happening, we're sort of finalizing the finished material and the look of the skin, and the paint job on the head and everything, whether it has any hair or fur. And I think we ended up having a little bit of chest hair on the front. We have to be careful not to make it look like some weird macho, Tom Selleck. But I think so far it doesn't. But that'll have to be tweaked once we get into the game engine, and then we can sort of further tweak that to see how the hair reacts in that. Before it goes into the game engine, we're designing costumes and uniforms right now. Another freelance artist is taking care of that. So we have to figure out sort of the military feel and look of these races and these characters, both in civilian type clothing, military type clothing, and within the military, whether they're in space and they need special apparatuses beyond sort of their own evolved body, which has sort of adapted itself over many years of not sort of being on their home world to live in space and to travel great distances in space, as well as sort of being on different planets, environments. So they have, I think, a pretty wide range of breathing different atmospheres, wherever they go. So I think they're ready for any of that stuff. So in addition to their own evolved body, we have to think about that when we're designing the uniforms and the clothing and how they all, mix together without getting too bulky because they're a giant creature. So we're exploring different things right now. It's in kind of an early stage, but it's cool. It'll go sort of like with what we're all thinking the style philosophy of the Vanduul would be. Very spiny, very dangerous looking, dark, hard metals, some interesting sort of tribal shapes. Definitely they have a primitive feel to them, so we don't want to go anything too slick looking, So yeah, should be good.
Everybody, I'm here with all of our artists at CIG for a little roundtable discussion. Brian Brewer, Chris Smith, Elijah Wood, Jeff Cabot, Chris Olivia, and Mark Skelton.
Who?
Yeah. So Chris actually heads up the team of artists as our chief visual officer. And right now we're all crunching on the 300i.
Right.
So tell us how the process works for us to deliver come Friday.
Oh, this Friday?
Okay.
What? How did this happen?
Well, no, it's sort of something that we have to do on a regular basis as far as getting brochures and commercials out to sort of like highlight what the various ships are. So in between the process of like building everything for the game and all the artists like working on the actual assets for the game, we have to sort of like focus on getting the marketing tools out. But it all sort of goes towards finalizing the assets for the game and stuff. We sort of have daily reviews to where we go around and sort of like kind of see where everything is at and sort of make sure that there's a consistent vision and everything. But everybody here is like considered leads, so they're all talented enough to sort of like
keep things on a high quality level.
So Brian, what tools do you use, and what's your process for getting your work over to Chris?
Well, I'm generally handed a ship, and I have no idea what I'm going to do because nobody's told me what needs to be done. So I generally work pretty close with Chris Smith here, and he usually highlights everything that needs to articulate on the ship. Some things are very obvious, like doors, but sometimes things that are like control panels in the cockpit, he highlights, hey, these should move this way, things should move that way. Sometimes he blocks in animations, and it's kind of a prototype, which I feed off of, and I go, let's go with that, whatever that idea happens to be. With the 300i, it's been a real learning process for us because a lot of us are still so new in the CryEngine. We're just we're trying to get down the pipeline, how to properly have things built and handed off to animation, how animation needs to set everything up to be properly exported to game. So there's a lot of that. One of the things that I did on the 300i was have to break apart a lot of components. Hydraulics for lifts, had to tear apart the ladder so it can animate proper. A lot of other games, we may not have that issue because we can rig the ship with a skeleton. But the way the CryEngine handles it is they're animated objects. So that's part of the learning curve. That's part of what has been a real challenge on this initial ship, which we are doing internally from start to finish. So as I figure things out, I play it off of Chris, and we kind of go back and forth, and I say, well, maybe it's a good idea to break something down this way and build it out, and then he takes those notes and he does that for the next ship, and then when he hands it back to me on the next ship, it goes a lot faster.
And a lot of it is like working with the game design department as far as what's going to be happening on the various ships and stuff, and like what the gameplay is going to be to determine what needs to be animated.
So basically, we have the concept of the 300i, and then it gets built, and with the concept comes, the stats sheet basically that tells us, what kind of power plant it'll have, how fast it'll be, if it's more like a transporter ship as opposed to a quick speeder time.
And what tools, aside from the CryEngine, who works on the ZBrush? Is that what Chris calls it? Is that you, Dalton?
The ZBrush. Come on, we're in Britain now. Yeah, the ZBrush is an amazing tool. I work in ZBrush. It's cool. I think Chris does too, a little bit.
I do a little bit. Like if there's some wear and tear, like for the hard surface stuff, like scratches and stuff.
ZBrush is like sculpting in 3D. It's pretty cool. It's pretty sweet. That's cool. It's very much like 3D clay. So it's like we finally crossed kind of the barrier where you don't have to manipulate polys as much. It's more like a piece of clay in front of you that you can sculpt into what you want, which as an artist, I mean, because, I'm not hugely technical. I think having like digital clay is much more conducive to how I would work regularly than having to like jockey polys around that. So it's much more conducive, it's much more artist friendly than the way I've worked in the past, and that's only come about in the past few years. And you can see it in games. I mean, games have come a long way in the past 6 years-ish, and a lot of it has to do with Mudbox and ZBrush as far as how you deal with polygons now. ZBrush is more organic, where ships are very hard surface, very crisp lines, stuff like that. But if a ship gets beat up in battle, or if it's bent or blasted or blown apart or something, then you'd probably want to take it in ZBrush at some point and do the scarification, do the blast marks, do the bending and the more organic type of stuff.
Well, the thing is, so with the 300i and the way we're modeling these ships now, so that would come into play if we had a lot of unique baked textures. So you bake detail, from a high poly to a low poly. With these ships that we have now, it's mostly a tile texture because we have such a high resolution on the outer shell of these ships and everything. So
What kind of resolution are we talking about here? Because I want to build my power rig very soon. So, how do I?
Well, I
how
mean,
good
we're
to-
using a 1024 map, which is not that high, but we're scaling the UVs so big that, on the ship, it makes the texture look more crisp.
And what about the detail of like the cockpit and everything inside?
The detail in the cockpit is actually unique. So most of that has been baked from normal maps, and it started out with a high
That's
poly.
you as well. You're doing that too.
Yeah, I did
Oh
everything.
my gosh.
Everything. He does the whole game. I don't even know why you're here. I don't know why you're here. It's the Chris Smith show, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I did everything. The lighting.
I give him.
No,
everything.
I modeled the whole thing, and
Alright.
from start to finish and texture.
Yeah, and you? Come on, Jeff.
Excellent.
Speak up.
But I helped out on the commercial, the landing
Okay.
pad, which Elijah concepted out the landing pad and the various houses that he had concepted from those. Built that for the commercial, and then now I'm back on to the M50.
See, these things take a long time, right? Weeks.
Yeah, it's definitely, months. I mean, these ships definitely take a long time from design to finish. I mean, characters as well. I mean, everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
got them
especially
all,
this guy,
right?
it takes forever.
Get 'em all.
Anyway.
Did them all. We just scan them in. That's
what
what we do. Scan ships.
We have the cool model button.
Yeah.
That's it. No, yeah, it's definitely a crazy process, and especially like Brian mentioned, there's a couple, some growing pains that we're going through, because some things are unique that we're doing as opposed to other games.
So what are those big flat screen things that you guys work on?
Oh, Cintiq?
That was something.
Yeah, what's that?
Well, it's sort of geared towards like organic, either sculpting or painting. So, as sort of akin to like traditional drawing and stuff.
So you basically draw on that.
Minority Report. That's what it is.
Is
It's all
it? You do it with
sweet.
your finger? No, you do it with a pen, right?
Ah, close enough.
Right.
Yeah.
There are versions that you can use your fingers and stuff, but I don't think we have any here. So.
So who has one of those? Who's got Elijah? You've got one?
Not cool enough.
Not cool enough.
I'm approaching coolness, but I got to lose the hat first before I
Who
get
needs a Centipede, right?
cool.
All he has to do is put in a request, and he'll get one. So.
Right.
I'm
He's
afraid.
too old
I'm
school.
afraid of technology. I
It's born
can't
in
handle it.
1979.
I can't handle it. Me? I
No.
wish I was.
Yeah.
And then Chris,
Actually, yeah,
Chris said you're working on the Vanduul, is that true?
1968.
Or what you're working on right now?
Yeah. No, for like the live stream, there'll be like a new character release for the Bano. So.
How long do these things take? When did you start that?
About 3 years ago.
What?
No.
No.
Seemingly.
That was the sex change operation. That was
Well, no,
that was 3 years ago.
The basic sort of look is down, but we're trying to get sort of like the finished costume finished before the live stream. So
Okay.
yeah, no, it's hard to sort of put a number on things because there's like so many other things going on at the same time. Sort
Right.
of everybody's balancing
Right.
multiple things at the same time.
Some people are night owls. Some people, I know Chris Roberts is a night owl.
Right.
So how do you guys?
What time does he wake up in the morning?
What does he have for breakfast?
What kind of question is that?
Yeah, what is
Well,
it?
he emails like at 5 a.m., so I'm just curious.
He works till about 4 or 5 in the morning.
Speedos. I work in Speedos.
Yeah.
British
yeah.
speed.
They kind of release my creativity.
All right, come on then. When are your best hours?
Especially at
Nude
4
or
in the
not nude?
morning.
When are your best hours, Mark?
The weekend,
The weekend?
my best hours.
Best hours?
No, I don't know. It depends. I don't mind working during the day. I guess you know what? To an artist, it's like quiet. If you can have quiet for like a couple of hours,
Like, about the flow, staying
Yeah.
in the flow.
like uninterrupted craziness, then that's when you get the most work done. Obviously, I think that's with anybody though.
Okay.
But
Chris,
since
you
there's so
agree
much
with that?
crazy.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, for an artist, it's hard to sort of like switch gears constantly or like go to meetings or answer emails, when you're trying to like work on something specific. So it's good to have like a day interrupted to be able to concentrate on something. So
I know that Chris says that the morning hours, early morning hours are the best hours for him because nothing doing.
And when I take sick days, and just work from home. That's oh my God! We could. God didn't like
Sick
that.
days. No sick days for you.
Who's taking sick days?
Cut.
So let's start with the process. We start with the character concept.
Right.
So lead us through the table here of how we get something done.
Well, it sort of starts with what character we need for like the first iteration of what we're going to release, which is the hangar. So right now it's concentrating on the main character for the hangar. So we have a concept artist sort of designing some things. Once that is approved through Chris and myself, then it goes to Mark to actually build it out using ZBrush and various tools.
So usually what I do then is I will take the concept and just kind of do a rough block in, make sure that the size and the silhouette is correct. Something quick so I can usually show Chris Roberts and make sure that I'm on the right track. Because, obviously from a concept to a 3D sculpt, there's always some issues that come up. Like for some of the stuff, I had to like reduce the chest plate a little bit so he had a little more mobility, in the arms, which I talked to Brian about, beforehand to make sure that everything is that what I'm guessing at is true, and like the way that the shoulder pads like fold in on each other is correct. It's more real world. It always happens in concepts where if you do it straight to the concept, it reduces mobility so much that when you put it in the game, it doesn't look right. So usually you have to either size things down or redesign them a little bit so that they work in real world.
So there's a lot of testing back and forth between what he's designing or building and Brian as far as like what's capable of like movement and stuff.
So how do you do that part, Brian? Is that motion capture?
Okay, so the kind of the full process. There are a lot of technical requirements to making sure a character works in game, and one of them is to make sure that the character Mark is building is fitting our skeleton. We have a skeleton that we went back and forth on with the character, our base character, which we've already seen released, and kind of figured out where all our joint placement needs to be. From now on, any character artist who builds a mill for our game now has to fit this in particular template. And there is a lot of back and forth between Mark and myself. Will this in particular piece of armor work? Will this spacesuit work? How do these tubes that are running along the spacesuit need to be built properly to animate properly? So there's a lot of thought process that goes into technically making these in particular spacesuits work. We can't get away with things in video games that we can get away with in movies. Sometimes you can fake something to make that shot look proper. Video games, it has to look good all the time. So once I have the character and he's skinned up and he's looking good and everything's been approved, the next step is to take a set of animations given to me, usually by design. They'll say, hey, we need these in particular animations. I then look at those animations and determine, is this an animation that should be hand-keyed, where I go in there by hand and hand-key whatever it happens to be? Or is this something that we can capture quickly and easily with motion capture? If it's motion capture, then we go out and we shoot it and edit it, put it on our character, make sure that, again, there's animation is probably one of the more technical sides of art development for a game.
And then how much of that interacts with Chris? So obviously if you have your character, he's got to fit inside the cockpit, correct? I mean, all of that has to be...
That is actually something I'm really, really happy about on this game. And I love the fact that being on the ground floor at this game, we were able to do something that I actually haven't been able to do in a game ever, and which is I made a little proxy character with a little blocked out cockpit to figure out, here's the different kind of control schemes, here's where all the panels can be that a character can actually reach. I then made a little proxy file and I handed it off to Chris, and he's able to pop that right in, move it around wherever he wants in his scene, and line up all of his controls.
Yeah.
Now this doesn't take into effect that there's like alien races that are going to have completely different sets of like animations and ships.
Once we get an alien species like the Vanduul, who's much taller than a human, do the same thing. We'll get him in. We'll get him in the proper positions, and I'll hand that off and let the whoever's modeling the ship pop that in and customize their cockpit to fit the character, as opposed to having the character fit the cockpit. I can't tell you how many games I've worked on where I'm handed a model and the character's feet go through the floorboard of the Jeep or whatever it happens to be, and then there's a lot of back and forth.
It's going to be interesting because the idea is eventually we're going to be able to like have a human be able to fly like a Vanduul type ship. So there's going to be a big thought process as far as like customization and because of the size difference between the Vanduul and the human, how you need to retrofit that ship to be able to fly it. So.
He's probably going to put wooden blocks on his feet.
Wooden blocks.
Like he's stealing his daddy's car.
Booster seat.
Right? Is that what's going to happen?
Little lever to push the seat forward.
Yeah. Or maybe there's two humans in it, and one works the levers on the bottom.
The kid
and the
in
other
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, the kid in Indiana Jones. Yeah.
So then we've got the character, and then where do we go?
Well, for me, like my interaction with the ship and Brian is, I pretty much model it out. I do some test animations, and then once it's to the point, we go back and forth to make sure everything works right. And then also for our ships, we also have another unique thing. We have a thing called hard points, which are interchangeable gadgets and equipment. So it'll be like weapons you can interchange or engines and stuff like that. On top of once I'm done with the ship, I have to go back. I basically go back and model those extra hard points, model and design them. So that's another extra step.
And then the ship needs something to land on.
Of course.
And?
So we built this landing pad. It's almost like a small level. Various small details for nernies and lighting and basically matching the scale of 300i. So that was
Hey Jeff, what's a nerny?
Okay.
What is an earning?
Small decorative detail that just helps bring a higher definition to the look of your model.
And then finally, hangar
Mm-hmm.
is where we got to put all the ships.
Yes. What would you like to know?
So how many ships can go in the deluxe hangar?
In the deluxe hangar, right now it's somewhere between 10 and 20, not entirely sure, because there's various classes of ships that go in there, everything from Constellation down to the Aurora, I guess. So whenever I get these specifications, I have to take that into account and say, all right, they have this much money going into this hangar, so it would be this big, and then here are these different set pieces that can be tiled and put into there. So on my end, for concept, I'm usually a very technical concept artist. A lot of very clear drafting, which I reference from my experience in the military doing the same thing, reading and writing blueprints and drawing up designs for structural materials when we would build stuff.
Okay. And then decorations for the hangar. That's not you as well, right?
That is me.
Oh, that's you too. Cool. So then I have to go to the programmers to work out how the rest of it works. You guys make it all make it look good, and then you got to work out.
We don't do no programming.
We eliminated programming.
Sorry, ain't us.
We don't have any
We just make
programmers.
things pretty.
Do we have programmers?
I think we do.
Thanks, everybody. So this is how the artists do their work, and how the ships look, and the characters look, and the hangar's going to look, and the landing pad. And then later on, we're going to have how the programmers actually make things happen in the engine.
All right, we're back. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're gonna have some. What are we gonna show them, Chris? We got something coming up, right?
Yeah, we're going to show concept of the M50,
Right.
which is the basically the current fastest racer ship that you can get. So it's actually faster than the 350R. It's basically two big engines and a cockpit. So should we show that?
Yeah, let's show it. You gonna Mike throw it up there? Let's cycle through it. Wow, look at that.
This is a good ship.
Oh, there it is.
Ah,
There we are.
Oh wow! There we go.
Wow, it is 2 engines in a cockpit.
It's a pocket. It goes fast.
Check that out, everybody.
Hey,
I like it actually.
oh, so it really did kind of follow that concept art a bit.
Yeah, of
I
course.
remember seeing that note, but wow, that's cool.
And that's early days. That's just the concept stuff. So.
Well, it is a
It looks like
That isn't the one that won. That was.
Full design.
Looks like the chat on Twitch is liking it.
Cool.
Like,
Yeah,
Nice.
looks good.
Well, it certainly helps. So otherwise,
Harley
they'd be
Davidson
wrong.
of the world.
Yeah.
What'll happen if I fly into the control deck of an Idris
Or an executor.
while screaming, or an executor, more specifically? No.
All right, cool. There you go.
Apparently
Then
nobody.
we'll show the Caterpillar in about, I think, an hour, right?
I'm glad. It's a great movie. I think more people should see
Alien
it.
crashing into the
And
control.
what are we going to run right now? Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Hey, little Brian. Got a little one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You ready to play some soccer?
Hey Ethan, you want to say hi to everybody?
Come on in, Ethan. How are you, buddy?
Zane, you look worse for the wear.
I know. He got ambushed by a teddy bear.
Hey Ethan, look, it's that over there. Say, can you wave?
See him,
to
watch,
everybody?
he's coming in. There you are, coming on the screen.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff, huh? You're on TV. He's on
Yeah,
TV.
my wife has been watching this stream most of the time, and she's like reading all the comments, and
Really?
I'm surprised at how into this she's gotten. It's nice.
Cool.
I'm surprised she's still sane then.
Did she buy a Corvette?
Yeah, if this was Sims 3 or Sims 4 or whatever, she would be all over it.
This
That's
is
the new
better
franchise,
than
Chris.
Sims.
Sims Star Citizen.
Well, you know, it is a sim, so.
Come on,
Yeah.
let Ethan talk.
It's a camera.
And a huge screen TV.
And
Libra
that-
confirmed.
So can I keep this TV? No. Can I take that home with me as like a souvenir?
We got that TV for a used price from Lightbox Interactive.
No way.
Pretty much everything in this office is used.
You and your bargaining skills.
It's
huh?
completely. I'm about as cheap as you can get. Hey, hey, Moreland? What were we gonna run next though? We were gonna run.
I haven't a clue.
We haven't a clue.
At one point or another, we're going to show.
Oh no, let's do the community. Travis wanted to run the community thing.
Oh, I didn't realize we had to run it at all. Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
we have- let's run it and say. And we'll,
Caveats.
yeah. A little funny bit that we did for.
Community.
Community's ready to run whenever you want.
Let it roll it.
Morning.
Roll it.
Welcome back.
No, okay. So communities, a little spoof we did, like it was late at night with Sandy and Brittany. And as everybody knows out there in the community now, Brittany has some family things she had to take care of. So she's with us in life and with us in spirit, but she's no longer here at Cloud Imperium. So we wish her well, but we do miss her. So let's roll it.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning. Morning.
Yes, here we have Brittany and Ben and myself and Mr. Zane and Michael. So we have come to that part of the morning, and Brittany is protecting herself with.
In my ways.
What's that for?
It's late. You just got to be protected.
Ah.
You know.
Yeah, it's not nice.
Yeah, I'm glad this is going to be over soon.
All right.
Oh, jeez.
Ben, what are you gonna do that?
I didn't bring anything. That's it. I'm voted off the island.
Come on.
Pen is mightier than the sword, right, Zane?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
And the website is the mightiest.
Yeah.
Thank you for building that and working on it so hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Zane's done an amazing job.
Well, turbulent too.
Turbulent.
Big part in it. Yes.
Yeah, it's nice to see something now that can scale up to really support the community in ways
Right.
that the current site, the last site, hasn't been able to do. So that's been pretty cool.
Did you have fun breaking down the site?
Oh yeah, it's it's a lot of fun. A lot of work actually, trying to create the different
No,
phases.
you don't do it in like 2 seconds, really?
It takes a little time getting the cracks down, and yeah.
You know, I've gotten phone calls from fans like, "Oh my God, there's something wrong with the website. It's cracked."
So, I'm sure you do. I wonder how many support emails there are.
Oh, I got
saying-
conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy
I was like,
theories.
"Can you see that smiley face in the bottom left-hand corner? Can you tell me what that means?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I see it. Yes, I'm not crazy. I see the smiley face." I'm like, "Okay."
And the logos too.